Hello, everybody. Welcome to our new episode, The Economics of Spirit. And the economics of spirit are based on the natural resources of living the God idea consciously as oneself. And this includes spiritually rational thinking, disposing of the illusion of two minds, devotion to one's self-resourceful divinity, and living yourself consciously as mind. Buckminster Fuller is credited with saying, God is a verb. Mrs. Eddy said, man is the expression of God's being. These insights reveal that man is the action of the God idea. Action is immediacy right now happening. Man is that immediacy or action occurring infinitely in diversity of form, eternally presencing without duplication or repetition. So not knowing is man's norm, continually presencing newly, right now, right now, right now, right now. Dwelling on your language view blinds you to your own aliveness, your own beingness. A look or view is like a comforting presence as you move on, but quickly becomes a prison if you become attached to your view. Aliveness is experienced as being present right now, right now, right now, and right now. Conscious living is an exacting and enlivening discipline. And one of the things we've been doing is we have been using Margaret Laird's book, Government is Self-Government, to explore our own self-responsibility in the matter of our world. And we've been going through it and we've been highlighting it and talking about different aspects of it for quite some time now. And we're going to continue to do that because right now, at this juncture that we find ourselves in, what could be more important than realizing that you are the world you walk through? So here we are with Betty Albee. Hi, Betty. How are you today?
Fine, thanks.
Excellent. Anything you want to add to what we're going to be discussing in terms of the economics of spirit?
Yes, because we tend as human beings to think that other stuff going on out there somewhere governs us. And there's only one I or us, and it is self-government all the way. Even when we're kidding ourselves into, it's really over there. I'm talking to my Betty having that over there because nobody else has that over there like I do. My over there is always mine. So how come I wouldn't conclude or include in my conclusion that, oh yeah, I must make that decision since I'm the only one that's got it going on. You have your stuff going on, but my language is mine. And self-responsibility is 100% right there.
Right. I'm reminded of Margaret Laird after being, I think, read The Riot Act by somebody. She said, forgive me, Lord, for requiring my world to treat me this way. Owning all of it. And that's what we want to start looking at is really the self-responsibility.
Yep.
Who we be. So anyways, to just introduce this, we are sponsored by the Institute of Metaphysical Science, which is established in 1959 as the Margaret Laird Foundation, researching, exploring, living, and teaching the science of being and the causal nature of consciousness. The website is at www.scientificmetaphysics.org. So, and the other thing I'll say is if you want to make a comment at any point in our conversation, just type it into the comments box. Doesn't matter if you're on Facebook or YouTube, we will see it. And if you're on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe to our channel. If you like the conversation, go ahead and click the subscribe button. And we like thumbs up or hearts, anything you like. If you're enjoying the conversation, all of that helps us out in understanding how we're hitting the mark. All right, so let's dive in. On Government is Self-Government on page 66. Margaret Laird wrote, "In using the economics of spirit for your living, you are living mindfully as the conscious infinitude of existence. In that self-conscious living of yourself as mind, can you possibly imagine any lack of peace and plenty?"
Yeah.
So why does it look crappy?
Because you're probably living it unconsciously. The minute I get that it's mine, I clean up the space quickly. I really do. If it's yours, I should have to mind my own business, don't I? But when it's mine, I clean it up quickly. I've found out that it pays off.
Yeah. Anything else on that?
Yeah, I keep looking for ways to define the word consciously, because we talk about consciously aware, consciously living. And what it means is pay attention. Don't just fluff over stuff. Pay attention. Oh, look at this. This is the dress God's wearing right now. Huh, how about that?
Well, is it consciously living? Would it include, oh crap, why does it have to look that way?
Yeah.
Would that be consciously aware? Like, that too? Or is consciously aware more?
When you say, why does it have to look that way? That your being is a two-legged animal in judgment rather than somebody that's actually participating in living their world.
Right. But who hasn't been right there?
Well, we're there half the time. That's why we're talking about this stuff.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. So when I'm there and I'm like, oh God, and I just, whatever that frustration is, it's just stepping back and saying, only one thing going on. And this is my best view. So on we go.
And not only the stress on the best view thing, but it's the only view. And who's making it? And what else can I have going on here? How else can this look to me?
Right.
And if I drop the judgment, what is it I'm seeing?
Right.
And then you kind of get to a wonder rather than a self-righteous judgment.
Right. Okay. So it would be like chocolate chews.
Yeah. I used to love that because it took me so long to get it. That whether it's 1 or 15, I'm always making the choice.
Right.
Well,
it may look like we may want it to be a chocolate or vanilla chews, like we have it either or like that, but really
like we had a choice.
Yeah. But really it comes at like chocolate chews. And when you can choose what's right there in front of you freely, now that's discipline. And that's also freedom.
It's also earth-shaking, That's what shifts your world.
Yeah.
One thing going on and I chose it. Let's go.
Could there be a freedom in choosing right now, letting go your judgments and opinions, and that frees up for the next what? For the next insight, for the next action.
Absolutely.
And you don't know what that action is. So it's not that you're saying, okay, cool, I agree with this. Let's keep it this way now.
It's never an agreement.
Right. That's what I'm saying. So it's not like by letting go of the judgment and opinion, you somehow are agreeing. What you're doing is freeing yourself up for the insightful what's next.
For a new look.
Yeah.
A new view. Because that one's gone.
Right.
What's right now?
Right.
That one's gone. What's right now?
Right. But then the booby prize would be if you start looking for, well, it hasn't changed yet. Well, it hasn't changed yet. I thought I was supposed to have a new look.
Or else, I like the old one better.
Oh, yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Very good. Then in Science and Health on page 255, Mary Baker Eddy says, eternal truth is changing the universe. Let there be light is the perpetual demand of truth and love, changing chaos into order and discord into the music of the spheres.
Yep.
If only that was spelled correctly. All right. All right. Anything more on that one?
I think that's pretty clear. But,
Eternity.
the thing is, we want to say, let's see what I can, well, in the newspaper, it comes out all the time. We want to say the economic picture, the stock market activity going up and going down is governing my peace of mind. It's upsetting my income. It's making me unhappy because I think I'm losing something right at the moment. And then I have to really step back and take a look and say, wait a minute, this language stuff that I have going on that I can understand, is that running me? If it is, time to step up and take charge. Time to realize I couldn't possibly be involved in anything that wasn't conscious being itself, looking like Betty doing whatever.
Right. I was on a call earlier today where it was like, oh, the markets are just down. I mean, stocks, everything down, right? And I thought to myself, it's like going to Nordstrom, everything on sale, 40% off, 50% off. Because if it's a good project, then boom, get in. But that's not what the majority of people do. The majority of people go, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, let's get out before I'm at zero. And then when things are all exciting and moving up kind of near the top, everyone's like, okay, time to buy. And then they wonder why their investing strategy doesn't work so well.
It's, what do they call that? Contrary behavior.
Well, I don't know. I call it FOMO, fear of missing out. Things are moving up. Sentiment's like, oh yeah, let's go.
Well, I mean, instinct
then they buy and it immediately goes back down.
But the instinct to buy when it's good and to not buy when it looks scary.
Right.
That's sort of standard human behavior.
It's very standard. And the thing that flipped it for me is when my coach in the matter of it all said, we'd get on a call and say, look at the market. It's like going to Nordy's. Things are on sale, 40% off. And it changes your old mindset because who doesn't like a sale, right?
Yeah.
And if you know you're in fundamental, foundational, solid things, then why not? It's a blip in the market. And if you look over history, you'll see that that's mostly what the market has done, right? So it's just kind of an interesting thing to play with.
Sure.
That's all I'm saying.
It's great.
But the other thing I want to bring up too is this whole notion of what's happening in the economy right now. You got inflation. We got interest rates going up. I'm not sure what the Fed's move was today. We have different things going on and everybody wants to be like, oh dear, oh dear. But the truth is the economy's strong. We're at full employment. And even though the Fed is trying to get people to stop spending, we keep spending. So on the news, you think everything's going to, where in a handbasket. But yet here we are doing our thing and living our lives and supporting, countries that are, however. But at any rate, so I digress, but it's the same kind of thing. Eternal truth is changing the universe. Let there be light is the perpetual demand of truth and love, changing chaos into order and discord into the music of the spheres.
Yeah. And that was well said. It describes today perfectly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just wanted to underscore that.
Yeah.
And then in your book, Mind is the Athlete, on page 37, you wrote, our thoughts are either conforming to the, sorry, let me start over. Our thoughts are either conforming to the society in which we function, or are our responses shaped by some form of resistance to what's perceived to be present.
Mm-hmm.
Everything on the observational level of living derives from or has been given by something that is past.
Yeah. And I really am touching on the information that if I can see it, feel it, hear it, taste it, touch it, it's already happened.
Yeah.
So I'm playing in the past.
Right.
And there's no hope of making anything occur in the past.
Right.
It's over. Period. You have to be standing right on the edge of what's next, what's up, wide awake, open-minded, just ready to step. When you're there, it gets to be very interesting, because when you can do that consciously, when you're really wide awake and you're involved, it's fun. It's fun. Otherwise, it's dull.
Yeah.
It's easy to wallow around in the language. Look, it's all over. There's nothing you're going to do with that. You can stir it, but you can't do much with it. So you want to really be on the edge, right on the edge of the unknown. That's when you're alive. Yeah.
Yeah. And we do have a comment from Sandy. Can
Good.
you dial down unconscious being? So I think she's meaning, can you unpack it a little bit here?
The language is great. Dial down, unpack. Okay. Just look at, use your dictionary. What does conscious mean? It means aware. It means alert. It means awake. It means being present. Be here now. Now, conscious living is paying attention, just paying attention. We walk through our homes and hardly, sometimes you don't even see something. I have a friend, who brought flowers. Her husband brought her flowers, which is a really rare occasion. And he brought them in and put them in water. What a well-trained husband she's got. Anyway, put them in water, put them in the hallway where she liked to have flowers. She didn't notice them for 6 hours. And finally he said, well, that tells me something. I'm not going to bring flowers very often. And she says, why not? He says, you don't notice them. Oh, she says, don't be silly. He took her to the hallway and stood her there. And she said, where did those come from? And she'd passed them several times walking around the house. Never noticed them.
Well, you can take the same thing and say, if you have to drive to work, how often do you take a different route?
Almost never.
If you get into the shower, do you back in or do you go in front, face first? And how often do you do it different?
I might not make it in if I backed in, Kim.
I know. I'm just saying that these are things that, it's like, how often, how automatic is life?
We're creatures of habit, aren't we?
Yeah.
Three-legged animals are creatures of habit.
Sure.
But if you want to be awake and you want to be consciously present, you got to rattle the cage. You got to step outside of your average way of doing it and be unaverage, be unusual, be uncommon.
Yeah, I like the preface to Christian Science Re-Explored by Margaret Laird, because she says this is a challenge to original thinking.
Yeah.
And so you think about original thinking and then think about a challenge to original thinking. Not a challenge for original thinking, but a challenge to original thinking. That gets at kind of what you're getting at.
Yeah. Very good. Yep. It's easy to be ho-hum about your everyday living. You're going to get up and make a cup of coffee, sit down and fix breakfast, read the paper. When you get dressed, and you do that all pretty much the same way every day.
Right.
Well, if you're going to be consciously aware, that won't happen. I discovered sometimes when I wear the same thing 2 days in a row, I don't even notice if I spilled something. The other day I had on something and there was this sticky thing on my sleeve. I looked at it and I had something that I'd put my arm down on and I got sticky on my sleeve. Never even noticed it. Wore the same thing the next day and never did. That's when I got my attention.
Yep.
What's that? I thought, good heavens. Yeah. Be aware.
Yep.
Be awake. Take a moment to pay attention. Pay it forward.
Right. Yeah. And that's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah.
But let's go on with this one. So on Government is Self-Government on page 66 and 67, Margaret Laird said, in consciously living the economics of spirit, I help myself make wise investments, eat nourishing food, and do the things that give joy and satisfaction.
Yeah, and that speaks to recognizing that the actions you take, the things you do, the things you say, the places you go, all of that is not an accident. There is being present, being itself, being. The degree to which you pay attention disturbs the quality present for your own amazement. Do you know?
Yeah.
It is tough to talk about these things because they're sort of intangibles.
Well, good, because we've got another question. So let me bring that up because I think it plays in here. And then Sandra Jackson says, how do you pay attention? She meant pay attention without going down the rabbit hole. And I think it's the brand of what you're saying when you say pay attention.
What do you mean by brand?
It's like what you say, like you could pay attention to everything going on and being like, oh dear, there's all this going on. I would say, what's informing you or what's informing your attention? Or what do you hold as cause?
Yep.
And when you're trued up to spirit, to your divinity, you don't go down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, well, down the rabbit hole is not paying attention. Down the rabbit hole is being in a rut. Rut's been described as a coffin with both ends kicked out.
Yeah. But there is something here about, paying attention but letting it go, not ascribe meaning to that which you're observing.
Yeah. So maybe where are you coming from?
Okay. Yeah.
Where am I standing?
Yeah.
Thank you, Sandy, because that's a good point, isn't it? If I'm standing in the rabbit hole, what do I want to pay attention to? Probably how to get out of the rabbit hole.
I don't know if you got to pay attention to how to get out of the rabbit hole. I think what you need to do is be willing to be right there and to acknowledge this is your best view. This is divinity present, perfection functioning. And what's the next now going to bring? And likely it'll be out of the rabbit hole.
Terrific. Thank you. You stepped right into that. That was lovely. Put right on. I don't have to do anything. I have to be myself.
That's right.
Right on.
And in Science and Health on page 425, Mary Baker Eddy said, consciousness constructs a better body when faith in matter, faith in the belief that anything exists external to mind, has been conquered. Correct material belief by spiritual understanding and spirit will inform you anew.
Yeah.
Which is what we just got done saying.
Yeah. You see, I said, thus my language world is revealed as my self-resourceful divinity. How many of you recognize that the thing sitting in the chair that you work with to play the game, in my case, it's called Betty. that thing is not there by accident. That thing would not be there at all if God being were not present to be seen, calling itself Betty.
Right.
But when it calls itself Betty, it's not looking at, it's being present as.
Yeah, that's good.
Man is the expression of God's being present as God, self-expressing, is a whole different sense of self than the personal view.
Right.
And yet the personal view is my first clue that, hey, I consciously am. I'm here. I know I'm here. What I forget is who I am and what's really present.
Right. Right.
Yeah. What I look at is not all there is to the story.
Right.
Yeah.
And in your book, Mind is the Athlete, on page 110, you wrote, joy, enthusiasm, and effervescence celebrate the fact that's present rather than the temporary language identifying that fact. And that's what we forget. We forget that it's temporary language identifying that fact.
Yep. And the temporary language is, the word temporary means that, remember, that view is a shifting thing. It's not stuck in concrete. It moves all the time. Whoever I'm being is what's showing up. And where does that source?
Right.
It's all self-responsible right here. Nobody else can do it for you. You have to be yourself by being yourself.
Right. Exactly. And there's also, you go on the page 110 and say, if the instrument of the telephone had been idolized in place of honoring the advance in technology, the emerging advance idea would have been obscured and we would be far behind our present level of technological skill.
Yeah. What it looks like is not the deal. It's the idea that's alive and thriving, that's going to keep changing and changing and upgrading and upgrading. Margaret talked about transportation one time, and she said, I don't have to walk from here to Florida. I can get on a plane. I don't even have to walk from here to the grocery store. I can get in the car.
Right.
There was a time when I had to get on a mule. There was a time when I had no choice but to walk, and there was no store to walk to.
And pretty soon there'll be a time where you just go to an app and say, I need a ride, and the car will show up outside your door and you won't even need to own a car, let alone know how to drive one.
Well, Margaret talked about the guy that said he could be checking out of a hotel in Boston and saying, I have a meeting right away in LA. Oh, hi, Jim, how are you? And he would be in LA.
All right.
That's the instantaneous presence that all is mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Interesting ideas.
Yep. So in our final quote from Government is Self-Government on page 67 and 68, Margaret Laird wrote, healing or health lies in the economics of spirit, the equating of the I and mind, in the self-conscious living of my divineness, mind. I am able to recognize that whatever I do, whatever I do and have because of what I am, the thinking or God action that constitutes the seen, heard, and felt.
Right on.
And in Science and Health on page 230, Mary Baker Eddy said, we think that we are healed when the disease disappears, though it is liable to reappear. But we are never thoroughly healed until the liability to be ill is removed.
Yep. See, till I give up on trying to fix the language, which is past and can't be touched.
That's right.
It's no longer present, so I can't fix it.
Yeah. But rather than wishing something would go away, then when it goes away, it worked. And then it's back. Stronger, more virulent, whatever. Same concept. It's like, instead of living divinely, I just got this, that if we live consciously aware of the facts present, the liability to be ill is removed.
Yeah, right on.
It's when we're fussing with the picture and trying to use science to shift the picture.
Yeah.
That's just more, using science like a pill. Trying to have that and have it fixed the way it looks so that you're happier with the look is not living science.
Yep. Not knowing is a hard place to be, though.
Yeah.
We are such know-it-alls.
Yeah, you're right on. All right. And in Mind is the Athlete, on page 178, you said, when you know who you are, what you seem to be becomes who you are. Humanity calls this shift in perception healing.
Yeah.
I love that. That's really good. Let me say it one more time. When you know who you are, what you seem to be becomes who you are. Humanity calls this shift in perception healing. And all belief-based action is at cross purposes with the individual's fact-based emerging self-awareness.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to read this poem? There's
Sure.
a great poem. It's a Zen poem that tells the story. Go ahead.
The perfect way is without difficulty. It avoids picking and choosing. Only when you stop liking and disliking will all be clearly understood. A split hair's difference, and you set heaven and earth apart. If you want the plain truth, be not concerned with right and wrong. The conflict between right and wrong is the sickness of the mind.
And there you have it. So that concludes our episode for this week. And we'll be back next week at 7 p.m. Pacific and 5 p.m. Central. And we'll see you then. And if you have enjoyed this conversation, we would like a heart or a check, a thumbs up. And please subscribe to our YouTube channel by clicking subscribe. All right, if you're on YouTube. All right, that's it. And we'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.